All right, so I wanted to spend tonight talking a little bit about some ways to help you find motivation so that you can be successful in this business. I know that we all go through cycles of being like super fired up and like wanting to do everything we possibly can to help people, to the other end of the spectrum where we're just not feeling it and we don't do anything that we should be doing on a daily basis. And I totally get it. It's human nature to go through that cycle. So what we need to do is develop ways to get beyond those periods where you're kind of feeling like you don't want to work this business. Um, and I'm going to share my screen. I did put a little PowerPoint together here to go through some ideas. All right. So when I was at Summit, I had the opportunity to listen to one of our keynote speakers was Brendon Burchard. He has a couple of best-selling motivational books out there. He does the podcast, The Charged Life, which he's now transformed into The Brendon Show. He's always been one of my favorites. He just always has like really great tips, like 5 things you can do to achieve this. Like he's just to the point, but really great ideas. And he goes a little bit more in depth. So I really enjoyed his.
Katie's here.
Yay! Hi, Katie. I just got started, so you didn't miss anything yet. So yeah, what he focused his hour-long speech on was 5 personal musts that you need to have in order to find motivation and success in anything that you do. Not just necessarily this business, but could be your full-time job. It could be with, your ideas for your family, for just, what your vision is for your life in general. So you can apply to all of those things. Obviously, we're talking a little bit about the business tonight, but definitely you can apply these to all aspects. All right. So the first one is I must raise my ambitions and refuse to settle. Okay. So this is where I'm guilty of this too. Like we all have these periods of time where we're just like, you know what, my life is good enough and it's never going to be what I want it to be. So I'm just going to settle for what it is now. We all have that. We all have things that hold us back from what we truly desire. Okay. But if you really, really, really look deep inside, most of us are going to come back and realize that we want something more, whether it's for ourselves, whether it's for our family, whether it's for our life in general. And the challenge is to listen to it and actually do something about it. Okay. So I think, too often we let things get in our way. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's self-doubt, sometimes it's, any number of excuses like I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have the energy. I mean, you name it. You guys have heard all these excuses before. You probably said them to yourself before too, because I have. But the trick is to decide what your vision is. And I know we talked about this in another training, but it all kind of ties into this. Decide what your vision is for your life, what you want for your family, what you want for your life. Okay. And then refuse to settle for anything less than that. It's that simple. Okay. So that was the first tip. And then we'll go into I must live each day with intention. Okay. So again, to get the things that we truly want in this life, it's not just going to be handed to you. We all know that. But the problem is that the things that we need to be doing on a daily basis usually are like the most mundane things that we just kind of sometimes push it off to the side. Like, I'll do that tomorrow. Like, it's just not interesting. So with this business, I would say that would be the power hour. We all know we need to do it every day. Okay. But sometimes we let things get in our way. Sometimes we decide we're too tired or we didn't schedule a time to do it and we let the day get away from us. But it's one of those daily tasks that you need to be doing every single day if you actually want to move your business forward. And it may not be It may not give you an instant payoff. Like in most cases, it's not going to, but you're building momentum. Okay. So the living with intention is deciding that you're going to do whatever your daily actions are every day, no matter what, at any cost. Okay. Even if you have to stay up an hour later or get up an hour earlier, which that's what we've been doing, that you will make the commitment to do it. Okay. And it also involves giving yourself permission to work towards your dreams. All right. Again, going back to the fear, the self-doubt, a lot of times we think, well, that would be really great if my life looked like that, but I just don't have the time to commit to it. Well, give yourself the permission to make the time to commit to it. Okay. And then he brought up 3 questions. And I want you guys to write these 3 questions down as I go through them. And think about when you're 85, 90, 95, 100 years old, what you want your answers to be to these 3 questions. Okay. And this is important because it's going to help you sort of work backwards on what you need to do to make sure that you've lived a completely fulfilling life and you've done everything in your power to achieve it. All right. So the first question is, did I live? So what he means by that is, did you live your life to the fullest? Did you experience everything that you wanted? Did you, were you able to provide the experiences you wanted for your family? Did you do things you enjoyed every day? Okay. So again, when you're 100 years old, you want to be able to look back on your life and say, yes, I absolutely lived everything that I wanted to do, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's, I want to travel the world. Maybe it's, I just want to live a life of financial freedom. Maybe it's, I want to live in a bigger house, whatever it is for you. I want to spend more time with my family. All of those things would fit into that. So that's number 1. Did I live? Number 2 is, did I love? Okay, now I know we all love our families, obviously, through thick and thin, better or worse. But the question is, are you giving 100% to your relationships? I hate that saying where they're like, oh, well, a relationship is 50-50. No, it's 100-100. It's not 50-50. You're not giving 50% of yourself to your spouse or to your kids. It's 100%. That's what it should be. So again, think about when you're 100 years old and you look back, did you give everything you could to your relationships? Okay. And so that's number 2, did I love? And then number 3, and this one is the biggest one for me, I think, is, did I matter? Okay. I think the biggest fear all of us have deep down is we get to the end of our lives. Did we have an impact on anyone? Was our life of significance? Okay. I certainly want to answer that question with a big yes. And I love that this business is a great way to achieve that because we have the opportunity to help so many people. Okay, so I want to be able to say, yes, I absolutely changed lives by what I was able to provide them with this business. All right, so again, that was the 3 questions were, did I live, did I love, and did I matter? Okay, moving on. I must no longer fear rejection. Okay, guys, we get rejected all the time in this business, like every single day, multiple times. Okay, it's gonna happen. It happens to everyone. It happens to the top coaches. Okay, but the difference is that they don't let it stop them from doing the things they need to do every day to reach the people who will not reject them. Okay, so I think of it this way, every time you're inviting someone, whether it's to a free group or a challenge group or a coaching opportunity, you are going to expect some no's. Okay. But the whole goal is to find your people. And what I mean by that is to find the people that you connect with, that are like you. So you're not going to connect with everyone, and you honestly don't want to. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of your time. I know we have the best intentions and we want to help as many people as possible, but you have to realize that you're not going to connect with everyone. Personalities don't always mesh together. So, you have to expect you're going to get some rejection. Just don't fear it. Just know that you need to invite so many people every day, and you know that only a small percentage of them are actually going to respond to you in the first place. And then of that percentage that responds to you, let's say you sent out 30 invites in one day and only maybe 5 of them actually respond back to you. And through conversation and building a relationship, only 3 of them say, yeah, I'd love to join your free group. Okay. You get them in the free group, they've completed the whole free group, and you work on building the relationship more and converting them into a challenger. And maybe of those 3, you only get 1 that actually goes to that next step. So it's a game of numbers, but you have to know that you're not always going to get a yes, and you have to be okay with that. Okay. Now, if they do say no, we all know that sometimes, like 99% of the time, it's just a not now. All right. So again, don't feel like the person is saying no because they don't like you. Most of the time, it's just because they're not ready. All right. All right. Number 4, I must jump in and face my fears. Okay. So for this part of it, you really have to figure out what is it that when you have a day where you're just like, I don't feel like doing my power hour, like what is holding you back from that? Okay. For me personally, I go through periods of self-doubt where I feel like, well, I'm just not good at this. Like people they're not responding the way that I want them to. Maybe I'm not going to be a top coach. I'm not good at it. So what you have to do is come up with phrases or things that you're going to tell yourself to overcome those thoughts time that you hear them. Okay. Because they're gonna happen. Because just like with any business, you're gonna have your ups and you're gonna have your downs. So when you're on your downs, you have to figure out what it is that you're gonna tell yourself to keep pushing forward, even though you don't feel like it. Obviously, you can ask for help because sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes we need someone else to give us that push. And that's why we're all here together, because I would hope that if you guys feel like you're struggling, you would reach out and ask for help. And I would do the same thing for you. If I felt like I was struggling, I would say, listen, I need you guys to motivate me today. All right. He told this story, and I'm not going to give you the whole thing, but basically he went skydiving for the first time. And he was so anxious the whole time that they were telling him like what to expect and what he needed to do that he didn't listen at all. It was like in one ear, out the other. And I don't know if you guys ever experienced that. It's happened to me before where you're like so nervous and then you're like, oh crap, I didn't listen to anything they just said. I don't know what's going on. So he told the story then of how he actually went through the skydiving, and it was hysterical because he acted out the whole thing. He was like screaming and like all the stuff on stage. It was really funny. But at the end, his point to it was at the end, the guy that, because he did tandem skydiving, the guy that was on his back said to him, when I met you, I knew you were one of those guys. And he was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you were one of those guys that hasn't learned how to listen through your fears. I was like, wow, that is such a cool thing to say. I mean, it's like not a compliment, but but like I never really thought about it that way. You know what I mean? So the point there again is when you fear something with this business, whether that's, wanting to invite someone to the opportunity, you have to learn to overcome that fear. You have to learn to put strategies in place so that it's not going to hold you back. All right. And lastly, number 5, I must find something to fight for. Okay, so this goes back to, again, the vision that we talked about before. If you don't have a reason for why you want to be successful in this business, a big overall reason. Again, this is like big life stuff. This is like, I want to spend more time with my family. This is like, I want a better life for my family. This is, I don't want to be tied to my bank account. I don't want to have to look at it every day, wondering if I'm going to have enough money to pay my bills. This is, I want to travel the world and be able to get up and just hop a plane to wherever I want, anytime. And that is the thing that you're fighting for. Okay. So what I would say is, if you haven't already done this, you need to write that thing down. Okay. And it needs to be somewhere wherever you sit down to do your power hour every day, it needs to be right there in your face. Because every time that you have a moment of, you know what, I'm just not feeling this today, you're going to see that written there, and then remember, you know what, this is why I'm doing it. Okay. It's only an hour out of my day, and it's getting me closer to what I'm fighting for. Okay. So those are the 5 things. And again, I'm just going to summarize. So the 5 things were: I must raise my ambitions and refuse to settle. I must live each day with intention. I must no longer fear rejection. I must jump in and face my fears. I must find something to fight for. All right. So again, the reason I wanted to go through that tonight is I feel like Team Cup is a great opportunity for us to all get fired up. But I know for myself personally, and I'm sure you guys feel this too, that when Team Cup ends, sometimes the motivation starts to fizzle out. So I'm trying to give you guys ideas and things to keep in mind, keep the momentum going, even when Team Cup is over. How does that all sound, guys? Yeah? Do you feel a little more motivated? I know it's a lot to think about because it's a lot of like soul searching, figuring out what your purpose is. But those are definitely some really, really good tips, I think. And I'm trying to get to the point now where I'm going to be consistent from here on out, even on a bad day. So I'm trying to incorporate those things into how I'm thinking about the business. And I hope that you guys feel the same way, and this gives you some ways to overcome, those days where you're just not feeling it. All right. That's all I have for tonight. So I will post this in the group, and if you need inspiration any day, you can always come back and watch it again and take notes. So I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for coming on, and I will talk to you soon.